Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a beautiful morning, or evening, or day, whatever it is for you, perhaps night, and you're having trouble sleeping. Let me help you relax a little bit. So, the title of this video is I Am Understanding. I am learning accountability and acceptance, I believe. And I believe this is a very valuable topic to talk about because we are in the age of information. There have been a few ages before this in terms of historic revolutions. When I talk about revolution, I don't necessarily mean like overthrowing a government with a coup or something like that. I just simply mean in terms of a new age. So let me edify. First, I think a long time ago you would have like the agricultural age, irrigation and farming. Then as time goes on, as man becomes more endowed with tools, as we become more aware and learn more about our surroundings and environments, we have different we have then you have the entrance to different ages of time and different civilizations. And so we had just recently gotten out of the industrial revolution, and now we are dealing with the age of information technology. Back in the day, a simple message or a letter could have possibly taken months, especially if traveling by ship across the seas. Well, now we can send things instantly to anybody across the world. Here's why that can be amazing and a problem. Since my introduction to social media, there has been a lot of detrimental behavior that would almost seem like children playing at the playground. I'm noticing a lot of adults do and say certain things on the internet and behave certain ways on social media that's unbecoming for civilization. I try to tell people over and over that I understand some of you, and the reason why I come from a religious aspect first is because those can be some of the hardest people to reach. And so when dealing with religion, I like to use religion and psychology, not saying I'm psychoanalyzing you. I'm saying I like to use religion and psychology to help me understand certain religions. And so even when dealing with a religion like Hinduism, the reason I say I like to use psychology as well is because when dealing with Hinduism, what I'll first do is understand that they have a lifestyle, they have a culture, they have a certain way that they view the world. And so if I'm going to deal with somebody in that type of community or environment, I try to assimilate the best I can with using the knowledge that I have of my own. And so I'll give you an example. If I know somebody in a certain religion doesn't or glorifies like cows or different things like that. Hello, Raylan Trent. Good to see you. I know if certain people in different religions glorify something, you won't see me going up and going, oh, that's evil or you're a pagan. No. I'll get to know that person. I'll try to understand them. And what I'll do from there is then we can go from there. And so, like, imagine I'll give you a little funny allegory. Hello, Leia. I like that name. It reminds me of Star Wars, Leia. Um, let's say I have a friend that's into Hinduism. Thank you. I appreciate that. Shout out. Let's say I have a friend that's into Hinduism and I'm hanging out and I know their stance on certain foods. And so then if I'm hanging out with them, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm finna go get a fat double juicy cheeseburger with bacon. Delicious. No, that would be disrespectful. I feel like that would be disrespectful from my end. And so then I just simply say, hey, I'm gonna go get some lunch. If they're asking what I'm eating, I can then tell them and be respectful about it. Let's say I have a Jewish friend who's into kosher and they have a set of laws that they live by. I am definitely not going to disrespect them and be like, hey, you want to go get some bacon? Hey, you want to go get a bacon double cheeseburger? That's so disrespectful to me. To me, that's stepping on that person. And so then with my awareness, knowing how I feel and how I would want to be treated, I would try to respect them as well. A lot of times when I see people dealing with civilization, a lot of times we like attack other cultures and we'll call them names and say what their badness is. But a lot of times I won't see people glorifying them for the good they do. Like me personally. A lot of people might say I'm shrilling or selling out for doing this, but if you watch my videos, you know I do the opposite. What if I sometimes glorify my white friends for saying, "Hey man, thanks for being respectful. Thanks for not saying the N word. Thanks for being like that." Or even still, I know not everybody feels the same way, but I'm around certain white people and I'm so comfortable around them that they say nigga sometimes. Now, I don't want to disrespect any. If you don't like that, okay, I can understand why. I'm just simply saying that what I do is I have my friends who I know are true and I know aren't like that, and then I separate from people who I do see like that. I then don't go back to my other friends and go, "Oh, you're white people. You no, hell no. That's disrespectful. They're respecting me, so why would I disrespect them?" I deal with the situation how I need to at the time, but I also remember, let's say a super racist person comes up to me and says some racist stuff. That's not all white people. That's not all Southerners. That's not all Republicans. That's that person. They have a name, they have a character. And so that's how the world can begin to assimilate and become a better place. I know a lot of people will like to go to the idea of, oh, African Americans are shooting in ghettos and all. That's super disrespectful and that's based. There are so many people who are not like that. And so then when we treat everybody like that, when we create stories to talk about people like that, then that destroys civilization because instead of us becoming friends, instead of us learning and loving each other, what we tend to sort of do is, because of what we learn from other people, is talk about people and treat them differently. I'm not innocent of this. I could I can get on here and explain some of the things different communities do all day and tell people not to treat everybody like that. But even in the African American community, there's this subtle anger that a lot of us possess in terms of Caucasians, you know what I mean, and the institutions that have been built. It's not unwarranted. If you live here as an American, you can kind of see how certain people are treated sometimes. The same thing is true with the LGBTQ community. Those people have to live in silence sometimes because of the groups of people that are against them. And I don't like that at all. That's disrespectful to me. That's sick to me. To me, I respect being able to walk out my door, interact with society, be loved by people, and show that same love. And so I think everybody should have that opportunity. Now, people might say stupid, like I'll even give you an example. People might not like what I'm about to say, but if Nick Fuentes knocked on my door, we smoked a blunt, and he said, "Man, I'm not with none of that stuff no more. I'm so sorry for all those things I said. Please help me, man. Help me get my character back and advocate with me." Okay, if every day he woke up and was a new person, I wouldn't accuse him of that stuff he did back in the past. You know what I mean? But not every situation is the same. Like, I'll give you an example like the court of law. Maybe a family lost a lot of family members to a murderer. And now that murderer's changed and he's crying in his whatever. I'm not telling that family to just go, "Oh, forgive him." But I'm saying if you can find it in your heart to, I that's true power. Oh my goodness, that's true power. But oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Leia. Sorry, sometimes I get into the message and I just I just get out there. But thank you. I appreciate that. But just like even now, right now, I feel it looks like I'm being super nice on stream and loving and kind. That's the kind of world that I feel like that would make life a lot better. But I'm not always like that. Sometimes I get furious. I see things and hear things sometimes and it infuriates me. But as a human being, I don't sit there and then let it fester and go, "Oh, hurt all these people," or "Oh, they all deserve to pay," or "Oh, because of what Israel's doing to Palestine, I'm not going to say, "Oh, I hate all Jewish people." No, that's fucking crazy. That's crazy. I'm not going to say, "Oh, because of what these Arabs are doing in North Africa and these African nations are stealing Egypt and all this, that I'm glad what's happening." That I'm going to say I'm glad what's happening. No, that's not how I feel. I, I listen to a lot of Western media, and I hear them talking about Putin and China a lot. And I forget what the president of China's name is, but when I hear them talk, he's like, "I want peace. I want this war to end. I'm tired of this." Okay, so I'll give you an example of hypocrisy. If you feel like Israel can come here 3,000 years later and take this land back, then and you don't agree with what Putin's doing, then you're a hypocrite. Ukraine is Russian land. No matter how you feel, we could be like, "Oh, Florida's not a part of Florida and they're going to annex the United States and fight the rest." Then what would the feds do? They would go take care of the uprising, right? You guys in America, there's something called separation from church and state. And there have been a lot of different random psychopaths that have started big religions. One of them's called like Jim Jones and the Church of Jones or something like that. And they did something really sick. Don't. But a lot of times I've seen the FBI go in and take care of these extremists. I mean, literally, they'll go in with guns, guards, FBI, everything. There was this one institution where a compound, there was this man in a compound, and he had hundreds of people, and a bunch of people got out, but the rest were barricaded in, and they were burned alive with the like leader and stuff. And so America goes after insurgencies too. And so then I started to research Ukraine. I was like, what's going on in Ukraine? Well, from the BBC, 10 years ago, they were doing news stories talking about like Ukrainians marching and talking about how they were like far right Nazis and all this other stuff. I'm not calling innocent civilian Ukrainians Nazis. That's not what this is. I'm not Hitler. What I'm saying is there was Nazi groups going around. So I'm like, what's going on? So I started typing it into Google and YouTube and doing research. And dude, there's this president that was running for power. He was like a legit Nazi. There was all these bombings of Russian citizens and people of color. They're like literally killing people, and they're Nazis. They've been doing this since World War II. And so then I like get upset with the Western media. I'm like, why aren't they talking about this? Why don't they tell nobody about this? You hear them talking about like Arab nations and African nations and stuff a lot, but you don't hear about like, excuse me for what I'm about to say, but Caucasian. You don't hear about their like terrorist groups sometimes. So then I'm like, okay. So then the same BBC that said there was Nazis in Ukraine, then Putin came out with a story saying we're going to deal with the Nazis in Ukraine. They're killing Russian citizens and stuff. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Then the BBC makes a news story that says, is Putin lying about Nazis in Ukraine? Why is he lying? I was like, okay, let's see. From a common sense standpoint, the BBC was complaining about the Nazis. Then the Nazis were killing a bunch of people. They have it all on record and video. You can YouTube this stuff. Then Putin says he's going to stop the Nazis. And now America's advocating for Ukraine. I'm going to tell you from a deep business standpoint why America, this isn't like, I hate, I'm telling you I'm a kind person. I'm telling you on paper what's happening. Okay, so they do something called outsourcing. When America outsources to other countries, the labor is a lot cheaper. I'm not calling them bad for this. I mean, if I was playing Monopoly, I'd probably do the same thing. I'm just from a human standpoint. So they outsource to all these countries. If Ukraine and Taiwan go towards the EU and they lose those two countries, China and Russia, they're going to lose billions of dollars, and then they're going to be able to get cheap labor without the taxes of China and Russia. It's basically like, imagine if Mexico was doing a deal with Florida and they was getting all this cheap labor from Florida. The roles are reversed. But now now Mexico's like, we don't want Florida to have to pay these federal American taxes, so we're going to arm Florida and call it democracy. I'm telling you that's what's happening. I'm telling you. The reason I say that is because when I see people call Russia and China commie and dictators, I then go do research on the histories of these countries. Okay, let's go research America. George Washington had 123 slaves. The South wanted freedom, but to own slaves. They wanted slavery. They stole these lands with colonialism. Slavery, murder, theft. Slavery, murder, theft. Slavery, murder, theft. Jim Crow. We couldn't read and have civil rights until 1950s. But from an African American's perspective, I think you guys are suffering from cognitive dissonance when you look at us and say, like, democracy, it's freedom. Because you like, that's kind of scary. If you look at us and say this is a democracy and freedom after what I've learned from this country, it makes me feel like, oh my goodness, what? It's like, it makes me feel, I'm sorry for this metaphor, but imagine a woman who's been, SB or SA. She's been harmed by men. And now every time she goes around men, they go, our body, your choice. You shouldn't have just like, that's kind of what it feels like from an African American male's perspective. Jim Crow, slavery, hanging, killings. We want to own people. America, democracy. It makes me go like, what? That's kind of scary. Now it's changed. It's changed since then, but I'm just giving you my perspective. So then I go do research on the Republic of China and Russia. Okay, the Soviet Union. Who are all these freedom fighters they were fighting? They were like theocratic psychopaths. You remember a while back they were like, Obama's bombing Syria. Okay, now watch this. If you go take 5 seconds to Google, were Syrians and leaders in Syria using chemical weapons on civilians? people who wanted to be Democrat, people who didn't want to be a part of the regime, the Kurds. You guys don't get a lot of like world history in America. And so when you think of like bombs and drone strikes, this isn't like the 50s. We're not just dropping bombs. What a drone does is goes in, finds a target, and blows it up. Obama got Bin Laden too. Well, he was in office when he sent the order for the Marines to go in and deal with Obama. So when people be like, Obama's just bombing people, no, he's not. They're not telling the truth. These drones are going and finding individual targets and taking out these theocratic leaders that are killing civilians. So then they'll be like Russia, Commie, and China, Obama bad. Okay. I went and researched on what Russia did for Somalia and African nations. They helped the Africans. They helped the Africans. Navy SEALs, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the update. See, I can be wrong too sometimes. That's why I say research for yourself and find out and see if what I'm saying is true. But thank you, Mocking X. It was the Navy SEALs. They actually did a joke about that on Rick and Morty one time. Morty was fighting this guy, and the SEALs came out and ate the bad guy. It was really funny. But yeah, thank you for that. It was the Navy SEALs. But they went in and dealt with an insurgency. So then I did a bunch of research on like Russia and China to see what's going on. The Republic of China were fighting a lot of psychopaths. Like, you guys would be like, CCP news. Like, you guys don't understand when you give people total freedom what they do in the media. Look at Fox News. And look at like even CNN sometimes. I saw them do an 8-hour marathon on why her life was in danger. Now, from an African American's perspective and what I see every day, for a Caucasian woman who is totally in power and has security, to get on camera and say my life's in danger, it upsets me. It does. Do you know how many LGBTQT people have to hide for their lives? But this rich woman's on camera talking about my life's in danger. Like, yeah, I understand anybody's life can be in danger, but it's like a step on poor people. It's like their lives are in danger all the time, every race. And it just frustrates me. So, even when looking at, okay, look at what happened in ancient times. There was something called Prester John. And the Catholics and a bunch of people in European nations were looking for them. So they went to Ethiopia. They didn't enslave and like colonize them yet. That's not what this is. When they went to Ethiopia, they created a partnership because there was a bunch of people named Yochanan and Naya and like Theos and stuff like that in Africa. Well, when they were looking for this, they found out that Ethiopia wasn't the most powerful nation. They found out it was like, they were having trouble with their enemies, so they're like, okay, we're not gonna. So they started looking for somebody named Prester John in Asia, like West Asia. East Asia. When they did that, they started communicating with the Mongolian nations. When they did that, they taught these Mongolians about like Catholicism and Holy Lands. I'm not being funny. This is in written history. So then the Mongolians went and tried to invade China. That's why China built that wall. And from then, I'll look up, yes, you might have your emperors and your theocrats that are psychopaths every once in a while, but every nation does. Europe has experienced this. When you guys like, this is another reason why I don't like when people say white people. When the Romans had gotten to power, they went up and enslaved a lot of Vikings, Anglo-Saxons. They're called Anglo-Saxons, Frisians, Drutes. When they went up and enslaved a bunch of those people fought back. Them Vikings and barbarians wasn't no joke. They were pounding the Romans. Now think of what I'm telling y'all. The Roman Empire was the biggest, strongest empire. When it went up to North and East Asia, them Orthodox and them Vikings pounded Rome. They was not playing. Well, then the Arabs ended up doing the same thing. They were fighting for their freedoms too. Rome was doing a lot of crazy stuff. Well, what ended up happening is when the Anglo-Saxons ended up getting power, they started to create England or England, depending on how you say the verbs. They went over to Britain and took over Britain. Then Britain started to create monarchs and power, and then they went over to the Irish and took over the Irish. You'll hear a lot of people saying sometimes redhead, what do they call them? Gingers. The Irish have it bad too. I'm not trying to be funny, but if you were looking at a lineage of like, if there was no like people of color, I would suspect that the Irish would probably be getting their heads pounded in. I'm just putting that out there. Even if you look at the history of America, they weren't too friendly with the Italians at first, the Irish, like British, people from UK. And that's also when I see like videos saying African Americans are racist because we don't like Africans and we fight a lot. Everybody does that if they're not aware. It's a race thing, but it's like a human thing. When humans are not awakened properly, and you know, awake and aware is the same word minus the K and the R. Just a little English wordplay. But every humans do it if they're not educated. Even if I look in China and Russia now, do I have a problem with some of the things that they do? Yes. All humans, we get into it sometimes. But they're not the bad guys in the story from what I'm looking from a historic standpoint. They might have had some theocratic rulers, but what America and the EU have been doing, I'll give you an example. You guys know that, like, look at India. India did not look like that before. You see some of these buildings in Russia with the like, it looks like an ice cream scoop. That a lot of that comes from like the Middle East and the Indus Valley. Now I'm not calling Russia the bad guys in the story. What I'm saying is Britain colonized a lot of India, and then it turned into like a really nasty place. And they did that in the Middle East too. You see like a lot of like trash and stuff everywhere. It did not used to look like that. If you do history on Africa too, a lot of what they don't tell you is that like Africa had a lot of beautiful civilizations and laws, and they had like gods and stuff, but it wasn't what the way they attacked from a Christian standpoint nowadays. It wasn't like pagan evil pharaoh. And I'm not saying that to attack Christians. You know, I have a lot of Christian, half the world is Christian from what I know. So what I'm basically saying is that humans are inherently good. I don't like when they say humans are evil. A lot of people around me respect and obey the laws. Everybody. You get these secular random people who don't get disciplined properly. When I say disciplined properly, like leaders, psychopaths that are in power. Like, I'll give you an example. It was really sad about October 7th. But this is why propaganda is dangerous. If you wake up and say, oh, October 7th, that's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. It's just like waking up and saying Obama and Kamala are racist. And I'm going to explain why. Because what you're doing is you're ignoring a whole lot of other history, a whole lot of other events, and pretending like these Hamas people are terrorists right now. And I'm going to make a bold statement. I'm sorry if you guys don't agree with what I say, because if you're okay with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but you're not okay with Hamas fighting back for their freedom, then you're a hypocrite. You're a pure hypocrite. Let me explain. I don't know too much about the pure history because I don't live there, but in the 1950s, these people wanted to come back and take their land back. They're like, this is our home, okay? Once again, if you're not okay with Russia not wanting Ukraine to be Nazis at the moment, if you're not okay with China not wanting Taiwan to play these bureaucratic capitalistic games, then you're a hypocrite. So when they came and took this land back, what they did was they said, okay, my land, this is mine. The colonizers did the same thing to the Native Americans, except with the Native Americans, they just took it. Israel's doing something right now to where they're saying they lived there at one point in time, and no, they didn't. Because if you did, your skin color wouldn't look like that. I'm not being racist. You went to Europe after exile, became a new people, and then came back and took the land. That's like if African Americans, because of the Bible, created a section called like Hebrew something and came and colonized Africa. That's what will happen. That's what they're doing. So then when these people were like, no, this is our land, we have laws, we have things that we believe in, we have, this is our whatever, and they started fighting back. If you believe what Joshua did to Canaan was okay, but aren't cool with what the Israelis fighting back, you're a hypocrite. I mean, not Israelis, but Palestine fighting back, you're a hypocrite. Everybody's a hypocrite. Because a lot of people don't see the bigger picture. These people, I've seen videos of them raping prisoners, the Israelis. I've seen videos of children throwing rocks and spitting on Christians. That's not holy. And when you allow people to think that's holy, further and further in the future, it's going to get worse and worse. So, 1,200 people were killed that day. But now over 50,000 Palestinians have been murdered. I'm watching videos of them shoot shells into civilization. I'm watching videos of them just bomb and annihilate people. These surgeons are on camera. Europeans are saying that they were working on people, they were running out of supplies, children coming in after getting shot with a drone, bleeding to death on hospital tables. I don't care what religion I'm a part of. That's not oh fucking K. That's terrible. Then I'm seeing Putin say he wants there to be a proportionate response. He's talking about he's tired of the Nazis killing Russians. And then I'll see Democrats and Republicans going, not, call me Putin. What? Are you kidding me? That doesn't make sense to me. You guys will say, okay, look, Putin has all the power he needs. He doesn't have to bow to anybody, right? You guys will say he has total power. So is the president in China, right? If they have total power, they're not politicians anymore. Why do you guys keep saying they're saying these things to be politicians? I'm going to give you an example. I'm JB and now I have total power. I don't have to listen to what nobody tells me and I can do whatever I want. I'm not going to get on the news and be like, hey, please help these innocent and do it. I'm going to get on and say I can do what I want. So they're lying about them being politicians and dictators. They're men with common sense. They see what the American media and some of this Western media is doing, and they don't want their countries destroyed. And so I'm not saying I'm not calling Americans evil. I'm not calling Jewish people evil. I'm not calling Russians evil. I'm not calling Chinese evil. What I'm saying is, from a human standpoint, I'm trying to think about the random Russians that have to live in that country. I'm trying to think of the random Chinese people that have to live there. I'm trying to think of the random Americans that have to live here. Because I don't like get up and saying Chinese Americans, African Americans, Asian. We're Americans, man. We're America. You can think of me. You can think of me like an inglorious bastard. I'm a good old Yankee. You can call me the Bear Jew. I'm hunting Nazis. Now you'll be like, I should be understanding and accepting. Okay. I'm understanding and accepting of humanity. I do not like fascism. I do not like Nazis and racism and misogyny. Because I'm going to say something, and if you don't agree, I'm sorry. Misogyny perpetuates homosexuality. I'm not attacking the LGBTQ. I'm going to explain what I mean. As a man, if I only look up to men, if I only honor men, yes, man dictator, man ruler, women bad, go sit in that corner. Men, I love this man, and Jesus the man God, and all men. You're making love to men spiritually, and you don't realize it. What happened to our matriarchs? In ancient Africa, some of these ancient civilizations, women were right there with their husband, if not making commands and stuff. I'm telling you it does. And a lot of people might not agree with me, but as a man, if I look at women and they're the ones with power and I'm like, oh, I look up to that strong woman. She's powerful. She's strong. What am I doing? I'm getting the loving spirit of a mother saying that's what's expected. That's what's accepting. That's what I should look for. So then as a man, I'm already raw, but then now I have my mother's loving spirit with me, right? The loving spirit of women in nature. As a woman, they have strong fathers or men figures. So then when they look up to those men, they can have something to be strong with them, the strong spirit. So I'm telling you, when you teach that all men like, oh, I hate women and we're power and only we can do things, you're teaching young boys to lust after men. I'm telling you, you are. And then as a woman, when you teach women, oh, all men are bad, rape, men, misogyny, you're making women hate men and they're going to lead towards women. I'm telling you, there's no getting around it. You guys can like argue with me. That's the point of life. I don't like debating and arguing, because if somebody was to be on a podium with me, my responses would be different. I'd be like, oh, you're right. It would sound like we're building a castle almost. Because if I'm debating somebody, I'm going into it with the mindset that I'm going to beat them, but I don't want that. I want to learn and grow with them. I want them to see some of my things and I can see some of their things, and we can bring them together and make new things. You know what I mean? And that's why I like the idea of acceptance and understanding it. Even with religion, I tell people a lot, I'm not trying to disrespect what you believe in right now, what I'm about to say. I'm just telling you what's written in human words. Sus is Latin for pig. G which wouldn't be G back then. It would have made like a wa or a ya sound. I'm just edifying for language. The guy who was crucified that I have knowledge to, his name was Yehohanan, 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 and his name, what his name means is I am gracious, or a gracious gift. Well, he was buried with the name Yehohanan ben Hakol. In different languages, Ben means son of, and Hakol, the I and the K are interchangeable, and so are the L and the S when dealing with Greek languages. It would have been Yanin or Yanes ben Hagios. And what that means is, I am the gracious son of the anointed one. And based on what I see now, the way people talk about blasphemy from what's even written, he would have more than likely, based on what's been written in history, saying he's like the anointed one or the Messiah or something like that. And then in a time where Roman kings were taking over Judea, the Romans would have told him to bow, or they're a king or a Caesar. Well, the irony of this happening is at the time of him being crucified, if you read later in history, there was a man named Josephus. And Josephus came into contact with Titus and Vespasian and told them that Yanes predicted that him becoming emperor. Well, when that happened, he became something like a prophet or a mighty man through spirit. They said he was prophesying things. Well, when that happened, Titus and Vespasian then went and ransacked Jerusalem. What they ended up doing was killing a man that the later emperor fell in love with, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a sick game of telephone. Well, when that happened, the Judea became basically cursed. Rome had basically ransacked a bunch of lands and took over. With that prophecy, Vespasian went wild. He was like, okay, I'm God now. He even wrote on his papers in his deathbed, I'm lifting up to the gods. He died of diarrhea. That's strange. But that's actually really prophetic, because who diarrheaed on themselves and hung themselves in the field? Titus and Vespasian. Whose name is in the field? Titus. So when I talk about the Bible, I'm not coming from a Christian standpoint. I'm coming from just words and metaphors, like how it played out in history and how it whoa. So his name was Yanes. Now, if you look in Spanish and English culture, Juan and John are the most and like Giovanni and Ivan and Jean. And those different languages, those all mean Yanes. It was Yanes in Greek, but by the time it got to Latin, which are different languages, it was pronounced Yohanan. That's where they got Jonathan from. And so, some people call me Jonathan. I think that's really funny. But what I like to tell people is that that name is in the Quran, the Bible, and in the Torah. So let me explain what I mean when I say that name. At first, a long time ago, I think around in Canaan, it would have been Eshra, Eya, Eshra, which is I am who I will be, or I will be who I will be. In the ancient cultures of Africa, there was a man named Ahmose. He was building a temple of Amun. This was like their god at the time. Now, that name Amun comes from Atum. That would have been one of the original African gods before the kingdoms were being built up. This is in written history. Now, it's simply the same as like the Bible. He was formed on the mound without hands. He was like the wind, without anything. So then later the sun came, what they called Ra, when they ended up calling it Amun Ra, the wind in its light, or the light in its creator, or something like that. Well, they ended up taking on the name Yeshua in the Middle East around 2000 BC, after Mentuhotep II. He was the fiery falcon. You see where all these, and Rick and Morty, they say, why does he keep going punk bird? You see all these birds in the Old Testament talking about doves and ravens and fiery birds and all that stuff. That comes from ancient African culture. And so what they're doing is they're taking a word and a spirit, and it's mixing subtly through humanity throughout time until this day and age. And what it essentially was is the word and spirit. I am. That's it. That's when you hear people saying God, Jesus, Allah, Hashem. In English, it's transliterating to I am. I am who I will be. I am who I am. That's it. And so let me explain. If I were to say a spirit, because you know what words are. When I say spirit, I'm just simply meaning the spirit of something. So let's say it's wintertime and there's snow everywhere. And I've got Christmas lights all around my house, and there's a Christmas tree, and there's gifts everywhere, and there's like a fireplace and cocoa. That's the Christmas spirit, or the winter spirit. I'm gonna do a curveball. Let's say I say the word dog. So when I just said that word dog, all I said was a word. But in your mind, maybe if you're a dog owner, maybe if you like dogs, maybe if you had a bad experience with the dog, you then start thinking about your experience with dogs. And so that's basically what I mean with the word and spirit. You learn something or you hear some words of something, and then a new spirit is born within you. Now, in psychology, it's a much deeper thing, but I don't like saying that the information stored in one part of a protein goes through the synaptic gaps, or chemicals are released through the synaptic gaps, and then that energy or electric signal is sent through the brain, almost like a computer and ones and zeros. But I don't want to say that each time. I can just simply say the spirit of something, like the spirit of what I'm about to show you. Now, you guys probably predominantly watching me have thought, man, this is a pretty wise man. He's pretty holy. He pretty is knowledgeable. Now, watch what the spirit of this is about to do. How many people just called me a sinner because I just picked a cigarette up? Now they're saying, how is he speaking on God or Jesus or the Bible? You see, the spirit of something. And so I just simply want to teach people new things and teach them how to be more accepting and learn new things. You know what I mean? I'm not teaching people to smoke. Actually, quite the opposite from a medical perspective. If you don't smoke, please don't start. But I'm not condemning people who smoke. These can cause very, this can cause a lot of medical problems in the lungs. Sometimes I'll stop myself because I don't want to sound brutal, but I'm simply telling the truth. This can cause medical problems in the lungs, and it can cause altering of cells, and it can cause a dependency. It will cause a dependency. I'm telling you it will. And so I'm just warning people who don't smoke. If you do, hey, welcome to the club. But a lot of times, and some of my newer videos, in my beginning videos, I was talking about the institution arising against anti-white men. And let me explain what I mean, or anti-white. Um, a lot of times in America, a lot of different cultures and civilizations in this point will go after white people. They'll be like, whites, white history, white did bad, white, white, white. And I was saying, that's not, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, there might be a lot of bad people out here still, but you don't want to just go and hate the opposite faction of a whole race and say all this stuff about them. If you don't think I'm telling the truth, in the African American community, sometimes they have the whole after it rains, wet dog, no seasoning, potato salad, blah, 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 blah. And I can go on and on. But I don't like hearing that shit. You know what I mean? Because then in my mind, soon as I hear somebody telling black jokes, soon as I hear somebody telling this joke, that joke, LGBTQT jokes, you know what I'm saying? And even to strengthen that, I'm not LGBTQT, but I stand with them. I'm not a woman, but I stand with them because they're humans. You know what I mean? And so there was an institution coming where people were like treating white people differently and bad because of what racists and supremacists and neoliberals were doing. And so liberals actually aren't innocent of this. There's a lot of Democrats who will ignore other things and go psycho over the LGBT. They'll be like, respect gay rights of women. But then they'll ignore people of color. They'll ignore reparations. They know every other race got reparations in this country. I bet y'all didn't know that. The Jewish community got reparations. The Japanese got reparations. Slave owners got reparations. That's true. If you don't believe me, look it up. The Chinese got reparations. Everybody did, except African Americans. So then Trump just got on the media and said he was giving restitution. I don't want people to say I'm lying. He said he was giving restitution in cash payments to people affected by civil rights and DEI. So what that means is not the people who are a part of civil rights. He's saying Caucasians, and he's not helping Caucasians at the moment. When he does stuff like this, they see Trump. Hey, Rich Huggins, good to see you. I'm glad to see you. When Trump is doing this, he's harming the Caucasian community through the word and spirit. Because what's happening is when like supremacists, let's say you're a random Republican that just liked what you heard sometimes, or you got a lot of anti-democrat rhetoric. So now he's causing supremacists to come out. Proud Boys are marching. Ohio, they just had more Nazis marching. And when stuff like this happens, what do people hate? They don't see Trump. They say, oh, the whites. Oh, white supremacy. You see what I'm saying? So he's actually harming y'all, and I'm trying to express this. So that later in my videos, I had to come out and start advocating for women, African Americans, and Judaism again. Then what happens? They start attacking Kamala over Israel. Let me explain the balance of powers. There's a lot of Republicans in office when a Democrat president is in office, and there's a Republican majority in the judicial system right now. And so Democrats can't do as much as they would like to. Even when Obama was in office, he had a lot of power at first, so he changed a lot. Gave cell phones, changed healthcare. Now, a lot of people who make money might not like hearing about Obamacare, but you guys got to think about what's happening to us poor people. I'm just telling you, man. Like, if you have a heart, even rich, like people who were in the middle class were getting tore off by what was it called? There was a movie called John Q, like HMOs and oh, hey, Rachel King, thank you. I'm actually going to make you one of my new moderators because you have been in and out and you have been helping a lot. I had a couple of other moderators, but they, I don't see them too, the lady moderators, but I don't see them too often. I see them every once in a while, but thank you for everything and helping. But they had like HMOs, and if you were sick, if you had a heart attack ever, if you had a history of illnesses, any kind of mental illness, all those illnesses and stuff, they wouldn't insure you. You basically just like, yeah, thank you. HMO and PPO. Mark, what's good? Good to see you, family. HMO and PPO. I'm so happy. Whole family's coming. But and what happened was if you had anything wrong with you or you were elderly, bye-bye. If you had life insurance, they could cut your plan at any time. Now, like a lot of people who are more well off, let's say they had 600 grand in their bank, they would have to pay like a monthly thing of 1,000, and they'd have to pay $6,000 for to get their procedure done. Now, if you have 600 grand and now you got to pay 6 grand, why are you telling the news that Obamacare ruined you? You see what I'm saying? This is what they're playing with, like the news. And so a lot of poor, but the problem is a lot of us poor people and middle class, we don't have a voice in the media. And so what happens is they'll see like either a black person on the news talking, or a white person, or some Jewish person, or some Arab person that's rich, and they'll be like, Arabs, blacks, whites, That's not how it works, player. We're all down here getting beat up. I promise you we are. But the media is playing a dangerous game. And so even the idea, people would be like, corporations are all getting screwed over with certain deals, but the media is still alive and well. That's because they they get paid off of people being mad. So of course, when stupid stuff happens, you don't think they don't love when Trump's in office? They get day after day of fiery news stories. They love it. But us everyday Americans, like, I'm gonna give you an example. I'm a natural born Yankee African American. Immigrants and women, what do that in a world, people be like, what does that matter to me? I'm an African American. When I heard them saying that women's body, my choice, and cats and dogs and Puerto Rico's trash, that infuriated me. I'm not those people, but I heard black when he said it. You know why? Because I'm a human too. And so the only difference is the color, is where we were born. So I felt their pain when they said that. You know what I mean? When I heard them saying they want to send all immigrants back to their country, do you know how many Syrians I thought of? Do you know how many Iraqis I think of and different people? Am I saying Iraq is evil? No. But they have certain laws in place that could cause American Iraqis and American Syrians to get killed. That's what I think about. That's what makes me cry at night. So it's just, I weave through it all, and I pick and choose what's right, because I know, because when I pick and choose what's right, I pick and choose based on me. And so it doesn't matter that other stuff they are. I think about how it would affect me, even though we're different. And so that's why I try to, I try to advocate for as much as I can and be as accepting and understanding as I can. A Christian comes up to me and goes, oh, you're going to burn in hell forever. The devil says so. So look, I'm going to tell you my strength. I am who I am. Now I'm going to show you how I use the 10 Commandments. I am who I am. Do not commit adultery. I am telling you that you're fine, and I'm telling you the ways of peace. So don't transgress me and sleep with their teachings. I don't say that out loud, so now here's what I say. Hey man, based on what I know, first of all, even if hell was real and there was a Prince of Peace, those concepts bump. I wouldn't tell somebody they're going to burn in an eternal blah, blah, blah after I created them and my will was done. That doesn't make sense. And so even hell, now I'll give them information. Hell came from Germanic paganism, from the Roman missionaries going up and trying to conquer the Anglo-Saxons. They needed a realm for Satan's realm. Hele. Even the word God. I'm not saying the word God's bad. I'm saying it came from the word good. Got this, good. It's to invoke good power, man of God. It came from the Anglo-Saxons, just like Norse mythology and paganism did. No different. Am I calling them pagans? No. I'm saying if a person comes up to me and says, the Lord's God is going to slay you and the Amalekites and all this other stuff, I don't think that they're doing the will of God. I think they picked up genocidal words out of a book, and now they're allowing the spirit of genocide because they're cloaked in leaves of God. If that just made sense. If somebody comes up to me and says, the Lord God says, feed the orphan and the widow, and we're going to love each other. Okay, brother, welcome to the kingdom. Welcome to the cookout. Hell yeah, let's feed them, my family. You see what I'm saying? And so somebody comes up and says, Hashem says, we're going to use the Torah says that we're supposed to not forgive our enemies, stone the enemies, stone the magician and the widow and all that other stuff. No, stone those who adultery and all that other stuff. Well, physical adultery, no, sorry, not happening. Those are 613 violent laws when people use them that way, plus the Ark of the Covenant, which is 3 extra laws, the first 3 laws in the covenant, which becomes 616 murderous laws. And it makes a man a beast because he's following after the will of murder instead of forgiveness, if that makes sense. When people come up to me and go, Peter and Paul says, and you're being wicked and you're smoking and men are homosexual. Those are 2 horns on a violent false prophet. Because I heard of accepting and understanding. I can do enough in my own mind. I don't need you creating a military up here to strike me. What a lot of people fail to realize is they use a lot of words and spirits to strike themselves. Am I wrong? Am I sinner? Am I bad? I'm doing this. I'm going to go to hell. No. First of all, if I say I'm bringing the spirit, I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to say a bunch of words and then edify what I mean. I am who I am. I am the King of Kings, the Prince of Peace, and I am bringing the Spirit of the Father. Now watch this. What does that mean? A lot of religious people can attack me, but I am a father, a literal father, so I have the spirit of a father. I'm using words of my words of spirit that I believe in, which makes them words from a king, me. I am the creator of my own world. I am who I am. I image the Father, right? So they, even if they attack me from a religious standpoint, they don't realize I just told the truth about everything I said. My father's the king, so I'm a prince. I'm a king now because I have children. I'm using the spirit of a father. So they just told me I was lying, right? If they're religious and don't even realize I told the truth about everything I just said. And so then they become the liars for religion. You see what I mean? But at the same time, I use religion and psychology to balance my life. Stand on the stone. Stand behind the stone. Use the fires to light and don't consume. Be like the burning bush forever on fire that isn't consumed. Do you know what a yew tree is? That's where the etymology of the word Jew came from. It's a coniferous tree that lives year-round like an evergreen. Now, that's just a piece of my mind or heart. The J and the Y got switched up, and a lot of languages got switched up. But, that's why I just try to teach as much as possible and try to tell people, even if you look at the words we're using, so we're Americans, right? So insults in America is commune, communist, libtard, lefty demo commie, right? Do you know what a commune or a communism is? The real word. Have you ever heard of a commune? A house? It's a community. That's where the word community comes from. So let's take the word commune and then mix it with fascist and call Putin and the leader of China communist, fascist, communist, right? But then in America, they wanted rights to own slaves. That's why you have to do your own independent research and understand what's truly going on. Xavier Eagles, I respect your enthusiasm. You know what I mean? Everybody's got their right to their own opinion. Actually, at first, I'm going to tell you a little algorithm. I wanted Kamala to be the president. But then I thought in my intellectual mind, I said, think about it. If Kamala was president, they blame whoever's the president of everything at the time. So if Kamala would have got president, they would have been attacking people of color and been angry. They would have been going after immigrants being foolish. They would have blamed Kamala off of every good thing she did and just said Trump was the one that fixed it 8 years ago. I don't know. They would have continued to call it. Look, they said she didn't run on identity politics, but Trump was the one calling people Hindu, Indian, black woman, calling Obama Middle Eastern. He signed the Taliban deal and made sure it went into effect when Biden went in office so they could blame him and call him weak to the Taliban. He signed those farmer deals in 2020 so then in 2021 and 2022 the Europeans was throwing poop on buildings and screaming and hollering. Then Obama signed all these farm deals into place. You can Google them. And LGBTQ laws to make sure people were safe. Trump went and abolished a bunch of stuff. Then he did tariffs and made the Chinese go away. So Basically, the only reason I kind of want to make Xavier a moderator, but not for the reason you all think. I want differences of opinion. Like I don't like what he's doing right now. That's perfect because look at how he's doing it. He's not like fighting me. He's not hurting me. He's just voicing an opinion. And so if the world was like that and we could actually be structured in a world where we could voice our opinions and not be afraid, that would be like utopia. Think about it, if somebody, this is why I say not everything's funny, but I try to make things funny to not like hurt myself in my own mind. Yes, there's like racism and there's some nasty stuff that happens, but I don't let it play. Oh, racist, racist. I'm angry. What I try to do is there's like Dave Chappelle episodes and funny episodes of different things. What they'll do is like I imagine like a racist in my mind, right? He comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, you mother, son of a." I'm like, whoa, calm down, buddy. Are you okay? Are you okay? Relax, relax. You goddamn blackers. And in my mind, I just see him like turning red and getting angry with no power and not being able to. It's funny to me. It's like, all right, dude, chill. You're gonna bust a vein or something. But I try to take I try to take a more happy stance in life when I can. I try to, and don't let me lie, I smoke a lot of weed. I don't advocate for people to go smoking weed and stuff like that. I'm in Illinois, it's legal. That's one thing I have against Russia and China. Woo! They do not play with weed laws. Oh my goodness. If they could change that. But, you know, that's their country, their rules, you know, whatever. Maybe if they had more democratic. Because this is what I noticed between alcohol and marijuana. In my 20s, I drank a lot, right? You know what I mean? I was running the street doing everything. Just, whew. The difference between alcohol and marijuana is unreal. I don't understand. I did a lot of research and talking about how like the military was testing marijuana before it came out, so it was making people more calm and relaxed, so they didn't want it to like affect the soldiers. But I watched people get belligerent drunk, they're like falling over chairs and stuff, and oh my, it's the most frustrating. Chilling with people who are tipsy is cool. They're like more relaxed, but y'all don't know some of these like small town Americans that go to bars and oh my good, they'll drink a 30 pack and they'll I watched a man drink 22 beers and drink a pint of Canadian Superior. I don't know where it all went, but holy shit. Uh, a functioning moving cell. It looks like a cell. You know, you look into a um a microscope and you see the little cells moving around and random. That's what like this drunk dude looked like. But when people smoke weed, they show the image of us being like, I'm so hard. Bro, you might feel good the first couple times you smoke. Don't get me wrong. Whenever you do something for the first time, of course, it's like a little different. When I first smoked weed, I was sitting outside of a Circle K and in this van. We didn't have the keys in this. I know about the laws and the DUI and all that. We were sitting in a van and I was sitting in a blunt. You know, I was being my old self, like, hi. I talked a lot. I mean, I was just different than now. I was just like this unaware, moving person. I smoked for the first time. Oh my goodness. The Circle K sign was like glowing. It wasn't like some weird acidity. I saw stuff jumping. I was within myself. I wasn't It was like the sign was glowing. I was like, I almost felt like a mosquito. And you know those little blue lamps that they go in. I was like vexed by the Circle K sign. I have not been that relaxed because I have, you know, not to make fun of myself. This is another thing, and I'm just bringing this up because I have Tourette's, and my niece has autism. I have tics. It's like when I say tics, I'm not talking about like sucking my blood. I mean like little. Every once in a while, if you're around me, you'll see like. That's not why I wear sunglasses. I'm over it by now. But I have Tourette's. I do little jerks and stuff. When I was younger, I used to make weird little grunts and noises, but I've been growing out of it. So RFK Jr. got on the internet and had like this tweet war with the FDA or something. He said he's going to have war on the FDA because they're banning sunshine and a bunch of other things. But he also said he's going to stop vaccines. And this really made me mad when he said this. He said he's going to stop vaccines because he's going to cure autism and Tourette's. Now, as a person with Tourette's, I could describe what it's like having Tourette's. It's not something, unless you plan on shocking my brain, and they did that, and they did like the ice picks. Remember that? You guys want to go back to that versus vaccines? Americans, not all of them, but RFK Jr. dude, oh my goodness. RFK Jr. got a lot of people in other countries killed because of his hatred for vaccines. I'm not talking about COVID. Remember all those polio vaccines you all got? So now you don't have polio. Remember all those cold and flu vaccines you got? So now the cold and flus are murdering half of our civilization. He got a lot of people killed with different viruses when they stopped doing the vaccines. And I don't want to argue people. If you don't believe in cause and effect, that's on you guys. But I even spoke out and said, the COVID vaccine was made a lot quicker. And so, I was kind of like, but other vaccines are scientific. They take like 5 to 10, however long, but I just was trying to tell the truth. So when he said he was going to cure autism and Tourette's, he pissed me the fuck off. I had to go cope for a while because you don't know what it's like to have Tourette's. You don't know how my mind's very fast. I've said this in many videos. I think. That's why I like smoking marijuana, because it helps control the way I think a little bit. Now I can control the way I think, but it's easier. It's almost like, imagine a man who has a wheelchair or crutch. Now you take his wheelchair and crutch away and go do it yourself. That's kind of what it feels like sometimes. It's like racing. Sometimes I'll be calculating or thinking, and I can do this as plainly as talking to you all. Like right now I'm talking to you and actually thinking about policies and other things in my mind. It's quick. And so sometimes it'll go to a automatic. My mind will think of a scenario quick, like, oh, what if this person gets hit by a car? Or, oh, what if this happens or a person gets shot? Stop that policy, like as a haha, fuck you type shit. We all have lower egos. We have the brain and we have the heart. Or we have the brain and we have the conscious, whatever you want to. They just recently in science found out that the heart has neurons, wiring. It does. You guys can Google this. The heart has a brain. So when they found this out, a lot more things made more sense. The brain and the consciousness. Now I'm not saying the consciousness comes from the heart, but it kind of does. It's separate while attached, if that makes sense. So I brought that up to say basically, when RFK Jr. said he was going to cure Tourette's, it infuriated me because sometimes the jerks are involuntary. It's a random jolt from a random thought or idea, because it's not so much physical in a sense. Sometimes it is. I'll feel like a scratch, ooh, or like or sometimes I feel like a pinch in my leg. It's like, ooh, shit. I don't know if everybody experiences this, but sometimes psychologically when it happens, I'll be thinking something and it'll go off in the left field quick. But I'm strong, I'm fast, I can deal with that thought, but it's still there. And so when certain people that are unaware of medical science and other things, that's why sometimes I get upset with religion. When they say they're just now, we all possess a certain power within the heart. I'm not going to get on here and just say, touch people and heal them. I know about medical science. I know about illnesses and diseases. That shit is so disrespectful to me. When I see preachers getting on TV going, oh, you're touched and healed, while all these people in fucking wheelchairs, all these people who are disabled, have to sit here and be mocked while they sell holy water and play with people's hearts. So now, I'll talk about religion in a good fashion. The word and spirit, a holier spirit, a kinder person. What brings civilization together to want to love each other and do the right thing and have respect for each other? Common ground, humility, respect, right? Love, all those things. So when different people come together, let's say maybe a job or a corporation has the money and we'll say, oh, money's corrupt. Okay, whatever. Money is paper. It's the human heart that does anything. So now all these workers, all these scientists, data scientists, doctors are coming up with something, right? Now, because of these people, they've come up with the ability to reattach nerves, harvest different organs, and now give somebody brand new eyes. Now, when I say harvest organs, they can turn skin cells into stem cells again. That's how deep data science is. They're creating different brains. Now, whether you agree with this or not, this isn't morality at this point. I'm talking about, scientifically speaking, humans are becoming advanced. So people can see again because of these surgeries. They're not cloning whole human. Well, what I'm saying from my perspective, they can take my skin cells and create more organs for me. I'm telling you they can. They don't need, they used to use stem cells, but they have created it to where they don't need that stuff anymore. They can turn skin cells into stem cells, which can then turn to neurons and brain cells, hearts, other things. So now people can see again. Now, because of cochlears and different surgeries, people who are deaf can hear again. Because of different, now, as much as I have a problem with Elon Musk and the things he's doing, I'm not finna disregard these data scientists who worked hard on these things. They have something called Neuralink. Now, me personally, it's new to me. Now, remember when they had horses and started coming out with cars, they're like, oh, evil, cars bad. You can't take that stance all the time. So I respect AI and some of the things that these people are doing. They are able to go and map people's minds, people who are vegetables, people who are in iron lungs, people who couldn't do a whole bunch of stuff, now have the ability in the psychological matrix of their mind to move software and all kind of stuff and watch. Brother, I'm telling you and sisters, because of the Holy Spirit with people with good intentions to create good, now all of this beautiful technology is out here. Maybe one day, instead of doing this, I can snap my finger and create a flame. That's not magic. That's data and science. But at the same time, it's something magical about a Holy Spirit that allows us to come together and say, hey, I'll work with a white scientist. I'll work with an Asian scientist. I'll work with a purple scientist. I'll work with a scientist missing 3 fingers. I'll work with a Jewish scientist. I'll work with an Arabian scientist. You see what I mean? Versus, oh, they're bad. Let's create a missile to nuke. What did I just gain from that? What did I gain from that? Nothing. So, even the idea of being a dictator, if all you have to do is get people to like you, why not be a good guy? Why not be a loving person? Why not give resources? Why not come up with ideas with your citizens to make the world a better place? Why do these people continually in the dark try to create laws to harm us? What's the point? It's not cool. It's not. Be the new change. I hear a lot of people in Judaism saying this, be the age of the Mashiach. We're the Mashiachs. We're the new age. Our spirits saying no to the curses and the ways of our forefathers to being better people. It's actually been like an hour. I've got like this policy. I know a lot of streamers like stream for hours to get bigger fan bases, but I've spoken like for a long time. So, I don't want you guys to get on here and go, JB's the leader of the art. JB's the king god. JB's way and everything he says. No, like the one guy said when he fact checked, it wasn't the Marines, it was the Navy SEALs that did that thing. Thank you for that. When I came before and I said, I'm the king of kings. You're the queen of queens and you're the king of kings too. You guys come give me knowledge, I give you knowledge, and we could create a database of Jerusalem. And we don't have to be lied to anymore. We don't have to say Jesus and king and be unaware and saying I'm a gracious pig. I'm telling you, sus is Latin for pig, guys. This isn't like a hatred for Christians. My love for you is why I'm doing this. Because I'm going to give, not all Christians are like this, a lot come on. But a lot of times when I talk to Christians, like, they're going to attack me with certain scriptures. That's just, I know what's going to happen. It's not just Christians, people in different religions. I'm using them because mostly this country is Christian. So knowing what I know, what they say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. I more than likely know what's going to happen when I try to teach certain people. Right? They're trying to smack me over the head with the serpent. Like the serpent. But what actually is happening, you could think of my legs or you could think of my heels like bronze. And every time they try to bite me, they're breaking their teeth because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't. And what I'm doing is taking my little, it's almost like, it's like a rod and cane, but it's like a little soft one. Boop, 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 stop it. Boop, knock it off. Boop, be good. I'm not causing no harm or hurting them, but that's just a metaphor. Like, you know what I mean? Let's cut off these old ways and start over. So let's teach each other, learn, grow. I'm not teaching you to go up to random homeless people and be like, here's money. Because I'm telling you, we still have to sift through this world. Be aware. If you read Gideon, the book of Gideon, when they were about to go to war, Gideon said, go drink from the river. And everybody that just drank from it, like, blah, 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 and was drinking, they were told to go home. Because that's a metaphor. They weren't aware. In a time of war, and you drinking like that, you're not watching your back. Anything could happen. But the man who drank like this, he told, come on. But he also said, everybody who has a family and doesn't want to be a part of this and all this, he said, go home. Enjoy your families. I'm not hating you. The Lord even edified. He said, I don't want some huge army, lest Israel say it was them that saved themselves and not who I am. Now, when I say that, I'm a messenger. I'm not saying me. I'm saying the word and spirit. All of us using kindness to change this world. Sometimes when I say I am, people get really jealous. And I understand where that's coming from. They're following the law of Moses in the wilderness. They're getting mad. They're not understanding what I'm saying. Let those who can see and hear follow along. I don't like saying sheep because we're more than that. The gods know my voice. So I know it too. I mean, you guys could say something to me and they could be like, oh, I hear the voice. You see what I'm saying? It's like a spiritual matrix. When we can see through the violence, because the kingdom of heaven has been spread by pure violence till now, if you do history. And now we can express ourselves and project our love instead of projecting our fears. Oh, they're eating cats and dogs. Oh, the blacks are shooting. Oh, the white supremacists terror. Dude, all those beautiful little babies that are growing up hearing this. Come on. So, with our powers combined, we make Captain Planet. Or Planetina if you watch Rick and Morty. I'm not a misogynist. I actually respect women power.